Hello and welcome to Outdoors with Nat. In this video I'm going to be reviewing a Trangia liquid fuel stove. So these are a staple of the outdoor ed industry in Australia and they've been used for many years, and the reason that is because they're completely indestructible. They will last a lifetime, and let's run through their features and their drawbacks as well. So a Trangia stove costs between about $140 and $180 Australian, depending on what model size and whether you get hard anodized aluminium pots or not. Their weight is about 1 kilo. Trangia stoves have two sizes, a 25 and a 27, the 25 being the larger, which is what I've got here. And these will cook enough food for about 3 to 4 people, depending on how hungry they are. The pot size in this stove is 2 litres and 3.5 litres, so pretty large pot size, and depending on what meal you're cooking, you can get enough food for 4 people out of this without too much trouble. We do have a full cooking system inside the Trangia, and that's one of the real benefits of this system. It also packs up really neatly and nicely, and it lasts in all kind of weather conditions and environmental conditions. So let's open it up and see what we've got. Strap on the outside. We've got a fry pan, then we have our liquid fuel burner, and always making sure we've got the cap on that one. We have a simmer cap, we have a set of tongs, then we have a small pot and a large pot, and you can also put an extra small pot inside there, and also a kettle as well. So plenty of space. You can also pack it up with food, etc. there. Then we've got our top and bottom. They interlock, and that makes a really windproof environment. We've got good ventilation on the side there, and you can also run it off a gas burner with a hose through there, but you need a different burner than what I've got here. So that's the key things. It takes about 10 minutes to boil a litre of water on these, and once the burner is going and going really well, then it can speed up that process a little bit, but 10 minutes is about what I would say. Even though these are heavy stove, I really like them. I've used them a heap. They're great if you're on a river journey where weight is not such an issue, but indestructibility is going to be key, and really windproof. You always know they're going to work, and so yeah, overall really good stove, and there's many reasons that they're still a real staple of the outdoor industry. And now I'm going to run through some tips and tricks on how to maintain and clean and look after your stoves as best you can. So this one, it's had a long life already, it's well used, and places where these particularly get dirty are not on the base. That is pretty good, but around the inside of here. And this has a little split in the metal part there, and that's a spun high tensile steel, so that can be quite difficult to get out, but you can pop that out with a screwdriver and then give the inside of there a really good clean, and that will get any food residue out of there. This one's due for a clean, so that's something to do then. The other thing that we need to be careful of is these little notches, and making sure this rim doesn't get bent, because that will stop it being able to be put onto here. And the same goes with these little bulges. They can get bent, and that can make it difficult to join our two sections together. In this one, it's pretty good. You don't want them too loose. Next thing is our pots. So with our pots, if they do get crushed or have damage to the bottom, then that can be really hard to get the black parts out of that, but otherwise they do scrub up pretty well. And as I mentioned before, if you can get a hard anodized versions, then they are much better on these stoves, and so much easier to look after and clean. So I really recommend that as well. These tend to get lost, the simmer caps, so always keep an eye on where they are, and it's really important to the use of the stove. They can get bent and snap a little bit, and there's just a very small rivet on the inside, so always be careful of these. They are a little fragile and not lasting as long as the main components of the stove, but you can buy replacement parts, so that's a really good thing. Right, moving on to our burner. These are good, pretty indestructible. The thing that you need to watch out for is that you don't get water on the stove burner itself. So if you're washing this up, or you send the kids off to washing up, make sure that you keep this dry. And if you get this wet, what happens is the wicks inside the burner get the water in them, and they become waterlogged, and they won't wick the fuel from the well up to the top section of the burner, and so then your stove stops working efficiently. If you get your burner wet, the way to fix that is to find the lid and put the burner on it like this. Then you're gonna get your fuel and trickle it all around the outside, and particularly try and get it down into the sides of the wicks there. Light this up. And there we go, that's a lot. And just burning that off really quickly and with a bit of heat will really help to evaporate off that, and we're not really going to do any damage to the bowl or the plate there. The other thing you can do, if you're worried about the bottom of the plate getting too hot, is do that up on the top of the stove, and then you won't kill your patch of grass that's underneath it. So letting that burn off and dry out only takes a couple of minutes. I'm going to put this one out, and then that's how to dry out your burner if you do get water on it. Another problem we see in these stoves is getting grit and losing this rubber seal. So just give it a good clean before you put it on, and keep an eye on that one. If you do want to keep your fuel in the stove rather than burning off, I tend to let it burn off and just try and get the right amount of fuel in there. That's how I like to store them, nice and dry. And you can pick the burners up and tip any excess fuel out, or even back into your fuel bottle if you really wanted to. You can even travel with the fuel inside. If you were just going to do one night, maybe 2 pots of water, then that'll be enough fuel to get you sorted. Another thing that goes wrong with these pot holders is they can get bent from time to time, and so sometimes taking these out with a set of pliers and giving them a bend to straighten up is necessary. So overall, I rate Trangias as a stove. They're really awesome. They will last you forever, and that's really the key thing. If you're on a river trip, they're absolutely ideal stoves for putting some water on the side. Not super quick, not super light, but as I said, they'll last you forever, and that's one of the best things. They're also really good in wet and stormy weather because we can seal off our stove and pot on the inside like that, and the water and wind is not going to affect it really very much. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Otherwise, please subscribe and have a great outdoor adventure.